Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. Again, sorry for the lack of a PowerPoint, but it'll be provided with the recording. And I will put into chat here my email contact if you want to ask questions at a later time. So one of the things I want to say before we get started here, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Can you see the one with where it says Digital Humanities?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's the screen I'd like you to see, not my messy desktop. Okay, so I'm going to talk briefly and quickly about data visualization, and there are a lot of different kinds of tools for data visualization that are available out there. Many of them are free and open source, some are not. But I have a research guide, and I'll put this in the chat as well. And on the research guide, there's a tab for tools, and I'll just go straight to the data visualization tab. And you'll see that the one I'm actually talking about, I haven't classified as data viz tool, but it is. I just kind of think about it also as text analysis or text mining tool. So, but there are lots of other tools. You can make great data visualizations with your work using Excel. Tableau is another good one. Flourish, Palladio, R, and D3. And I kind of have these listed in a easier to harder to work with tool. So there are lots of different ones, and this list is just a curated list. It doesn't even cover all of the different types of data visualization tools that are available to you. But this is just, again, my curated list. Now, the tool Voyant that I'm going to be talking about today, I have that actually listed under text mining. But again, what it does, it's a text mining tool, but it creates some really nice data visualizations out of that, out of whatever corpus you might have. And what I mean by a corpus, I think maybe most of us here know, but I'll just say that a corpus, I'm talking about is a group of documents or group of files. It could be very large, it could be very small. And with Voyant, it can come in many different formats. So I'm going to go directly to Voyant. This is what the, hopefully you can see this page, voyanttools.org, and I'll put that in the chat as well. And Voyant Tools, again, is a free resource to use. And what's also nice is this is a great one to use on the fly, not only for yourself, but for teaching purposes too, because there are no logins. It's simply either you can copy paste in the text right in this middle box, if you will, this open text box. You can copy paste your text in there. You can upload files, all different, many different file types, not all file types, but many different ones. Or you can play in their sandbox corpus, I can call it maybe, and that is they have two different ones that you can open, and they have Shakespeare's plays or Austen's novels. So you can open those and play with various visualizations out of those two corpuses. So it's a very easy tool to use on the fly, and I think that that's why it's so very popular with students, but also with researchers alike. And I want to go into the Getting Started page. I'll copy this in the chat as well. And I'll just say my PowerPoint, because they do such a good job laying it out here. Usually I do my own screenshots and what have you, but they have it laid out very nicely here. So my PowerPoint reflects this page anyway. So my PowerPoint will just be basically another copy to take away from what they've got here. But at any rate, they see it as a text reading or analysis environment for your corpus that you can make visualizations out of. And it can include plain text like TXT files or HTML, XML, PDF, RTF, and MS Word. So there's lots of different file types that you can utilize through Voyant, which is great. And basically, again, that open box that I showed you on the home page is the sort of the input piece, and then the output is over here to the right. You have this dashboard, if you will. They call it a default configuration of tools. I like to call it a dashboard. But at any rate, it lays out several different pods and our visual analysis of that data. And again, here underneath that screenshot is information about selecting your corpus. And again, just as I've already said, you can copy paste in text, you can type in a text, you can include a URL even to something. But if you do have a URL or a set of URLs, it should be one per line. And then the reveal button is what you click on once you have your text or your corpus identified, and you have it there in that box. And the reveal is just like a submit. And again, you get the output of this dashboard that has all of these different pods, if you will. So the default tools that show up are Cirrus, Reader, Trends, Summary, and Context. And these are changeable, but I'll just say a Cirrus is basically a word cloud, something we're very familiar with. The Reader, let me open this up. The Reader provides a way of reading your documents in the corpus. Text is fetched as needed. So this is what the Reader looks like here, kind of somewhat of a live example. And you can search for particular words in your Reader. Trends is another one. And this is what this is the Reader here in the middle. Trends over here to the right, what this looks like. And for trends, it's, as you saw there, a line graph that depicts the distribution of word occurrences throughout your corpus. So it could be really interesting to see how often a word is represented, which is very typical in text mining approaches. But again, this is a nice data viz here of, in this case, it's the works of Jane Austen. And so it's looking at all of her authored works. And so combining all of those and seeing what words come up the most, or trends the most, I should say. It's kind of interesting there. Summary. Back here is just an overview of your corpus and what has been counted, what has been analyzed in terms of words. And here is actually what the summary can look like here. Again, this looks at Jane Austen's novels. Document length, the longest one, the shortest one. It shows you how many words, the vocabulary density, average words per sentence, reading index, so forth. Distinctive words compared to the rest of the corpus, which is kind of interesting. And context is nice too. This is what the context pod looks like on your dashboard, is you get these, it shows you the occurrence of each key word, but where that appears in context in the text. So that's always very helpful to kind of see how different words are being utilized or interpreted within the text. And so that's the default, but you can change each one of those pods as well. So let's say you don't want the Cirrus or the word cloud. There's a little, it looks like the Windows icon, basically. When you mouse over each pod, and if you click on that Windows or whatever window pane, whatever icon, you get a sub list here of tools to choose from. And the other tools are a lot more. And I'll show you the tools that they have, all the tools that are available to you here in just a moment. So those can be flipped into different types of visualizations of your text. You can also bookmark your corpus. I think that's an interesting word, bookmark, because I guess I don't think of it that way, but you can export or grab a permanent URL for each one of those pods on your dashboard for each one of the tools. So I could grab a link or export from the trends section or the reader or the Cirrus. We can see what this looks like here in just a moment as well. So that's kind of a general overview of Voyant and the type of text that you can load up into the tool. I also want to quickly show you languages. There are a lot of different languages that you can utilize for the interface in Voyant. They have quite a few here, and they do make a note of that Arabic and Hebrew, of course, are by default displayed in right to left. So you can do that after the fact. You can change languages like once you're in Voyant using it, or at the very beginning on the home screen. There is the little looks like the little icon for different languages, I guess, if you will. I don't know how to describe it, but it's right there, right in the upper right hand corner of that box where you enter your corpus or upload it, whatever you're doing, is where you can change the languages. Another thing I want to mention about Voyant are stop words. Stop words, they have an automatic stop word list that you can employ, or that actually auto employs, but you can also select none, like you can not have any stop words. And what I mean by stop words are a set of words that you want excluded from your analysis and your visualizations because they're meaningless, like the word the, or various prepositions you might not want in there. Like, I don't want to know how many times the word of is used. So I think that can often be taken away. And you know what's interesting too with those awesome novels, there's the high occurrence that you saw of like Mr. and Mrs. And maybe in other corpuses, you might not care if how many Mr. and Mrs. are used in the text, or maybe it's totally irrelevant to what you're researching. But maybe for Austin, for various literary and gender analysis reasons, maybe it's interesting to see Mr. and Mrs. in the trends. But at any rate, so what I'm saying is, with a stop words list, if that was something that was irrelevant to your research, you could put that in your stop words list as well. Mr., Ms., Mrs., whatever it is. So it can be whatever list you want to make it. And to see the list, again, right next to that, over here on the far right side of the screen, you can see this little screen capture for Cirrus, hopefully, and an arrow pointing to the little toggle button. If you click on that, that'll allow you to look at the stop list, and you can either confirm that list, or you can edit the list, or click none and not have the list at all. And if I'm editing the list, then it'll show me what words are in that list, and I can edit that, modify in any which way, add to it. So again, there are a lot of little icons right above each pod on the dashboard that you can select either to change the tool or to edit your stop word list. And what's also interesting too is there are all of these pods, if you will, of your visualization output on the tool are interconnected. So if you make a change in one, it'll update the others. So I think that's kind of an interesting interaction as well. So that's kind of a really quick overview, and I just want to show you what the list of tools are. And here are all the different kinds of tools, various ways you can visualize your output from a text analysis in Voyant. Everything from bubble lines and bubbles to knots and steam graph and textual arc. So there's lots of different ways to really analyze that and visualize it. And some of these may make better sense to your research than others. Maybe bubble lines, for instance, doesn't make any sense, and you really want to focus on maybe a scatter plot. So these are all tools you have to choose from in the dashboard. And just to show you, I'm going to just open up. I'll try Shakespeare's plays this time. Open it. It's fetching the corpus, and it reacts pretty quickly. And here is the output. Again, these are all the default pods on your dashboard. And again, they don't show up necessarily, like you don't see the Windows pane or the little toggle switch that I was showing earlier, but if you mouse over that bar in each one of the pods, you should see those choices pop up. So this one actually is the export a URL and embeddable tool for each one of these pods. So you can either export the visualization as a PNG. There we go. The Windows icon is to select a different visualization tool. Let's pick something like bubbles. So you can see here on the little status bar how many words it's doing, how many more it has to go. So we'll let that run for a little bit. If I wanted to change another one of these, not that one. Let's change maybe the trends one. To Steam Graph. And each one of these, again, back on the tools page, does have a little definition of each one of those. And again, this is the context one in the bottom right and the bottom left, the summary. And if, again, this little toggle, if I click on that, that'll get me to the stop words list. Right now it's auto detect, but you can click none or a new user defined list, change the language. Maybe I want to edit the list. And here's the list itself, and I can add to it. Okay, so that's kind of in a nutshell what you can do. Oops, sorry. Wow, that's really working there. Lots of bubbles. So again, these are the different ones that you can utilize, and I'll also go back to this particular page. Hopefully I put this in the chat as well. No, I didn't. Let me put it in there, I think it's really important. I always go back to it whenever I use Voyant, because it's just to remember which tool is, does what is very useful. And again, this is a very user-friendly, if you will. I know that that's kind of a loaded term, and it really depends on who the user is and what their experiences are. But this is a pretty, when you compare it to a lot of other data visualization tools that are out there, this is a pretty user-friendly one, and really great for in-classroom work as well. Are there any questions?